Good day, everyone. We are Group 8, and our topic is all about moods and figures. So, mood and figures refer to the pattern or logical form of a syllogism. This logical form is determined by the 8 rules explained in the preceding chapter.
The moods. The mood of a syllogism refers to the type of prepositions used as premises and conclusion. In syllogistic logic, there are four categorical prepositions: A. Universal affirmative, E. Universal negative, I. Particular affirmative, and O. Particular negative. By combining these prepositions in different ways, we get 16 possible moods. The mood of a syllogism is determined by the type of prepositions used in the major and minor premises, as well as the conclusion. The major premise is the first statement in the syllogism, which usually contains a universal quantifier, E and A. The minor premise is the second statement, which usually contains a particular quantifier, I or O. The conclusion is the final statement, which follows logically from the major and minor premises. Not all moods are valid and workable. The moods with two negative or two particular premises are invalid because they lead to contradictory conclusions. For example, in the mood IE, we have a universal affirmative major premise and a particular negative minor premise. This leads to an illicit major, which is a contradiction. There are 8 valid moods. Number 1, A, 4 universal affirmatives. Number 2, E, 4 universal negatives. Number 3, I, 4 particular affirmatives. Number 4, O, 4 particular negatives. Number 5, I, O, alternating universal and particular affirmatives. Number 6, I, O, alternating universal and particular negatives. Number 7, I, O, alternating particular affirmatives and negatives. Number 8, I, O, alternating particular affirmatives and negatives. In summary, the mood of a syllogism determines the type of prepositions used in the major and minor premises and conclusion. And some moods are invalid due to contradictory conclusions. Understanding the valid moods is important for constructing sound arguments in syllogistic logic.
The figures refers to the placement of the minor and the major relative to the position of the middle term. So, naay upat ka possible figures, each identified by the position of the middle term in the premises. So, the first figure, which is represent the subject and predicate, and the second figure, predicate and predicate. The third figure, subject and subject. The fourth figure, which is the predicate and the subject. For example, sa first figure, which is the subject and predicate. So, ang major premise kay the middle term is the subject of the major premise. For example, all humans are mortal. Then, ang minor premise kay the middle term is the predicate of the minor premise. For example, Socrates is human. Therefore, the minor term Socrates is related to the major term mortal. So, ang conclusion niya kay Socrates is mortal. So, kani nga figure day kay the major premise starts with a general statement about a group. Then, ang minor premise day kay makes a specific statement about an individual within that group. Mo nang ang conclusion draws a specific conclusion about that individual. The next figure, which is the predicate and predicate. So, ang major premise ani niya kay the middle term is the predicate and both the major and minor premise. For example, all mortals are humans. Then, ang minor premise di ay niya kay the middle term is again the predicate. For example, all humans are animals. Therefore, the minor term animals is related to the major term mortals. So, ang conclusion niya kay all mortals are animals. So, kaning nga figure, both premises make statement about the predicate or characteristics of a group. And the conclusion relates the characteristics of one group to another. So, ari na sad ta sa third figure, which is the subject and subject. So, ang major premise sa niya kay the middle term is the subject in both the major and minor premise. For example, all men are mortal. Then, ang minor premise din niya kay the middle term is again the subject. For example, all humans are men. Therefore, the minor term humans is related to the major term mortal. Conclusion niya kay all humans are mortal. Ang kaninga figure kay both premises make statements about the subject group and conclusion relates to the subject of one group to another. The last figure, which is the predicate and subject. Ang major premise sa niya kay the middle term is the predicate of the major premise. For example, all humans are mortal. Then, ang minor premise kay the middle term is the subject of the minor premise. For example, Socrates is a human. Therefore, the minor term Socrates is related to the major term mortal. Mao nang ang conclusion niya kay Socrates is mortal. In this figure, the major premise makes a general statement about a group. The minor premise makes a specific statement about an individual within that group. And the conclusion draws a specific conclusion about that individual. So, kani nga mga figure are part of traditional category syllogistic logic, which is a form of deductive reasoning. They help analyze the structure and validity of logical arguments.
So, composing a syllogism. Compose a syllogism by following these easy steps. So, step 1. Choose a figure and a mode. For example, first figure and mode AA. So, mode AA means all statements are universal affirmatives. So, step 2. Write a conclusion. For example, logic is a science. So, step 3. From the conclusion, identify the minor and the major term and write them respectively on the place they are to occupy in the premises as determined by the figure chosen in this case. So, atong na pili nga figure ari is ang first figure. So, sa step 3 is ato na identify ng minor o ang major term sa ato ang conclusion. So, atong minor is logic, ang atong major term is science. So, blank is science but logic blank, therefore logic is a science. So, maon ina ni siya kay ang atong verbal figures first figure. Nga first figures kay namin siya is subject to predicate, places the middle term as a subject of the major premise and as predicate of the minor premise. So, maong ina ni siya. Wala pa ba takibaw kung asa ato ang middle term. Wala pa natin nahibawan ang ato ang middle term. So, sa step 4, indicate the quantifier and the type of cupola of the proposition as determined by the chosen mode, in this case, EA. So, ang step 4 is ato na i-indicate kung unsa ang quantifier o type of cupola. So, every blank is a science, but logic is blank, therefore logic is a science. So, ang ato ang quantifier ani kay ang every, o ang atong type of cupola is S. So, maong every atong quantifier kay ang every is kuan siya, nag-means siya the relationship between the subject and the predicate is universal, implying that every instance of the subject term is encompassed by the predicate term. So, mao sang S ang atong type of copula kay ang S is nag-means siya kay the subject and the predicate terms indicating the assertion of the relationship between them in a categorical form. So, sa step 5 is supply the middle term that would appropriately complete the inference. When the conclusion is affirmative, the middle term must be a concept to which both minor and major terms identify as in this example. So, sa step 5 is at nag-supply na ta sa atong middle term. If atong conclusion is affirmative, then dapat atong middle term is kanang connected sa minor o sa middle term. So, example, every systemized body of knowledge is a science, but logic is a systemized body of knowledge. Therefore, logic is a science. The middle term identifies with either the major or minor term, but not with both of them at the same time as in this example. For example, E, no man is an angel. A, but John is a man. E, therefore John is an angel. So, ang meaning ni is ang E, no man is an angel man. So, this is the major premise. It is universal negative proposition indicating that category of man does not interest with the category of angel. It sets a relationship between the major term, angel, and the middle term of man. So, ang A is, but John is a man, means an is, this is the minor premise. It is specifies that John falls within the category of man, aligning with the middle term established in the major premise. So, ang E, therefore, John is not angel, means ani kay this is conclusion drawn from the premise. Since the major premise states that no man is an angel, and John is within the category of man, which is minor premise, so the conclusion logically follows that John cannot be part of the category of angel. So, this demonstrate a valid syllogism with a negative conclusion, where the middle term is a man is associated with the minor term John and doesn't overlap with major term of angel.